Good morning, Reuzel friends. Welcome to another live session on this beautiful Monday. Today, we have the pleasure of hosting Samantha Keltner, one of our Scumbassadors in Kansas City, and we're happy to have her here. So enjoy another wonderful day of education. Please take it away, Sam. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for tuning in for another Reuzel live class. My name is Sam, and I'm here at my shop in Overland Park, Kansas. And today I'm going to do a classic haircut on you. And when I think of classic haircuts, the first one that comes to mind is the scumbag boogie. So that's the one that I'm going to do on this mannequin today for you guys. Now we're going to leave a lot of length up top. We're going to incorporate a hard parting, and we're also going to take it nice and short on the sides. So let's get into it. Now, before I get started with any haircut, including on mannequins, I'm going to take a look at the hair in its stride state. Now, this is important because you want to get an idea of what your end result is going to look like with the head of hair that you're working with. So I'm going to kind of take a look at the sides, kind of shape and see what this man looks like when it's taken shorter on the sides, get an idea of where I want to put my hard parting, and just kind of see what this is going to look like before I start cutting. I think we've got it there. When you're doing this, you want to pay attention to the texture. You want to pay attention to the density and anything that's going to influence the overall shape at the end of your haircut. So I think that looks good for the hard parting. So I'm going to go ahead and get into it. So I'm going to take my mixture of blue hair tonic and water, 20% hair tonic, 80% water. And I'm going to uniformly wet this hair down. Now this is important because this is going to allow me to have the utmost control over the sections that I take while I'm cutting the hair. And incorporating a little bit of this hair tonic works great because not only is your client going to love it, it's refreshing on the scalp. It smells amazing. It smells like a handsome man. I love it. But it's also going to help me break down any existing hair product. Now, my client doesn't have any hair product in, but like I said, it smells really good. So it also works really well as a cutting lotion. So that's kind of why I always start every single one of my haircuts with it, even if they don't have any product in their hair. So now I'm going to do a primary parting, and this is going to section off the top from the transition area. In order to do this, to find the most ideal spot on your client, you're going to want to follow this hairline until it meets the recession, and it's going to follow that round of the head. And I'm going to take it all the way to just below the crown. And I'm going to just comb this, get this out of my way so I can really see my sectioning. Get that out of the way. All right. Now, we're doing a hard parting, but I'm still going to do the exact same thing on the other side because I want to be able to make sure both sides are going to be balanced and they're going to look as much the same as we can. So once again, I'm going to start at this hairline, meet it at the recession, and follow that round of the head all the way to just below the crown. And it's going to make a little triangle section in the back here. Now this is a lot of hair, so I'm actually going to go to the apex, which is the highest point of the head. I'm just going to make another horizontal parting just so I can section off this top, just so I can have more control over it. Because this, like I said, this is a lot of hair. And I like to make sure my lines are clean because when you take clean lines, it allows you to have more accuracy when you're working through this haircut and navigating through it. All right. So now I've just established the transition, the primary parting that, like I said, is going to section off the top and meet for the transition section. Now I can go right in and start clipper cutting, but I'm going to move my mannequin up. It's not at the right spot for me. You always want to be right in front of your work, so that way one side isn't off from each other. Works good. And I like to do this because I like to make sure right where I'm cutting is going to be right at the center of my chest. So sometimes I'll be doing this, just making sure I know that part's going to be right there, so I am ready to go. So I'm going to start on my dominant side. I'm going to take my clippers and we're going to clipper over comb this part. I'm going to start on the squarest part of the head, which is going to be just above the ear. And I'm going to scoop this hair up. And I'm actually going to angle my comb out. It's actually, the base of it is flat against the head, but the top of it is leaning out towards me because I want to leave a little bit of length so I can go back and fine tune it later. And I'm basically bringing these sections straight out from the head and having my clippers flush to my comb, working across. So now I'm going to go toward the front. And with the scumbag boogie, it's actually more contoured, leaning towards the back. So that means I'm going to actually take my comb and lay it flat against the head and not angle it out when I get to this front hairline because I want it to be nice and short right there. So once again, I'm going to take my comb flat against the hairline, meet that right in the middle. I'm just following the section that I made to continue to help sketch out this haircut. I'm leaving a little bit of length back here just so I can have more room to go back and fine tune it later. That's the rule of thumb. You don't want to cut anything off you can't go back and fix later. Then you're going to be in a whole heap of trouble. I'm going to come back down here. Now I'm just going to go through the rest of this side, and my comb is my clippers right flush with the comb also. Now I forgot to mention, if anybody has any questions, leave them in the comments below, and Franz is going to relay those to me, and I can do my best to help find the answers to those questions for you. So when I'm taking my comb and I'm laying it flush against the scalp, taking my clippers right through it, that's leaving the length between a 1.5 and a 2. And I think this is a really safe length to start off with when you're doing some short fades, because then you can go through, it's not leaving so much scalp exposure right off the bat to where you're just kind of stuck with it. You have more wiggle room to fine tune and work with the head shape, work with the texture of the hair, and just follow that. And I'm using my new custom Babyliss clippers that need to be charged. All right, so now I've got my length of my baseline established, and I can go through and freehand this lower part of the fade. So I'm going to open my clippers all the way, and I'm going to go probably about 1 inch below this baseline. That way it leaves me enough room to do the blending. I always start my haircuts off with clipper over comb. Anything above a 1.5, I never use clipper guards or blades for. I just feel like you get more customization for your client and the head that you're working on when you do clipper over comb. It's not easier. It's definitely not easier. You have to pay attention to what you're doing the whole time and where you're cutting, but you know, it just creates a little bit of more like uniqueness for the client and uniqueness of the haircut that you're doing. All right, and now I'm gonna go just below that and close my clippers all the way. And I'm leaving taking it maybe a centimeter just below that section I did. Of course, to do this, to get this more blended on the sides, of course, I am going to go through with my one clipper guard, maybe a half. We'll just see what happens, but I'm definitely going to go through with my one. After I go through with my clipper over comb and really taking it and really finessing it out, if I need to do more, that's when I'll pop my one guard on and just kind of get it a little bit more blurry with that. So now that I've got this side established, I just want to go through. Just kind of cornering it. I'm not using the whole blade. Just chipping away at this line with the corner. All right, I'm gonna move and do the exact same thing on the other side. Straighten up my head here. And I'm gonna go to the squarest part of the head. You guys can see a little better. Bring the comb out, angle it out toward me, the top part, but the base of the comb is flat up against the head. Moving toward the front. Where's everybody watching from? Let me know in the comments below.
Hey, Sam. Yeah, just to let you know, we've got friends from nearby Colorado that have checked in. Colombia,
Awesome.
Mexico,
Colombia.
Vietnam. Yeah, no, you've got a lot of friends from Central and South America today. So you're doing great.
Welcome, everybody.
In Seattle, in Tampa, in Chicago, and San Diego. Thank you all. I'll let you get back to it. Sorry. Oh, and Sam, people are also enjoying all the camera angles. Thank you, David. David is our director of photography today.
Thanks, David. Now, this back part, flip it around for you guys. I kind of extended my dominant side, just following this line over this way. That way, when I'm coming in at the other side, it's a point of reference for me to match that up. So now he's got a little bit more length. I'm going to kind of Bring them over this way for me again. Comb flat up against the head. Angling out this crown area, that way I can have a little bit more room. Alrighty, now I'm going to freehand this side just like I did the other side. Clippers all the way open, leaving about an inch just below my baseline. Gives me enough room to fade later. Now I always stay right in front of the area that I'm going to cut because that's going to make sure you're keeping a square shape, which is always the shape that we want to go for when we're doing any sort of men's styling. Square shapes look more masculine. So that's why it's important that you're just paying attention to your body's positioning and paying attention to your client's positioning too, because that is going to affect everything at the end. All right, now I'm going to close the clippers all the way, and I'm going to take this to maybe a centimeter just below that open clipper length. And I'm taking the corner again. I'm cornering this whole part. Because when I do that, it's actually staggering the length that I'm cutting, and it's just making it a lot easier for me to blend it instead of creating more lines. Now I know that you guys can see it doesn't look totally blended. I'm going to do more of the refining details later on. But now I'm going to get into the top part. Now it's time to connect the sides with the top. Get this guy spun around, sorry. Moving around on me. All right, let's find that parting line again. All right. Yeah, that looks good. We'll leave it at that. Now this whole back part is going to be its own section, and we're going to connect that mostly, and then the sides, I'm going to kind of bring the transition down to the baseline. So to map out better where you're going to be taking these sections and the direction that you're going to be taking them, where they need to be matched up with the sides, I'm going to section off the top a little bit more efficient for me. So once again, we're going to go to the widest point, the highest point of the head, and meet it down to the widest point of the head, which is just where the highest point of the ear is. Let me get this top. Now, since I want to leave more length on the top, I'm going to section this off to where I know that the front is going to be taken from the recession, because I want that corner of the front to be isolated from the sides. So I'm going to go to the recession. Let me know in the comments if I should switch my angle so you guys can see a little bit better. But I'm basically drawing a line to the middle part of the head which is not the highest part. It's just maybe an inch up in front of the highest point of the head, but I'm taking it to the middle part of the head and connecting it with the recession on the side. I'm going to clip this out of the way. Now for this back part, it is very important to pay attention to what the texture and what the direction of the hair is looking at. So sometimes you'll get hair that actually naturally wants to come over this way, but then just below it, it splits and it actually wants to scoop around this way. And you want to honor the area that the hair is living in. So you don't want to disrupt that. It's not going to be manageable. It'll never work right for the client. You just kind of want to work with the natural state of the hair. So I'm sectioning off again that highest point. Just getting that. This will be the middle section of the top. Clipping this out of the way. Alrighty, so I'm going to follow this kind of crescent shape through here and bring my hairs that want to fall on that side right to my baseline. I'm over directing these hairs down. I'm going to take my finer tooth hair cutting comb. Just really play around with the hair and see where it wants to naturally fall and then work with that. Got my section. Now I'm taking the hair straight out of the head, connecting to my baseline, bringing my section up so I can see where I'm cutting. And following through. Lift up. Now it is leaving a little bit of weight there, but that's okay because I can go back through and fine tune that weight a little later. I feel like this hair wants to come down here. Let's see. Looks like this whole hair does. You can see that just wants to section. That's not fighting me at all. So this hair does live down here. We'll just work with that. Sorry, just keeps moving on me. We want to make sure there's a little bit of weight left here because then when it's dried, I can go through and really manipulate the style, manipulate the amount of density back here during the blending process. So like I said before, rule of thumb, don't cut anything off you can't go back and fix later. So now I'm going to go to this opposite side here. We're going to work on this side and I'm going to follow this shaping, this rounded shaping on that side, taking enough section that's the width of my comb. Just getting that out of the way there. Combing everything down to the baseline. All right, I'm going to take another section that's the width of my comb, following that baseline. This is my favorite haircut to do in the shop. Before I got into the barbering side of our industry, I was a women's hairstylist for some time. And then I feel like, I honestly probably watched Mad Men a lot during that time. And I just decided I want to leave the women's side of our industry and jump into the men's barbering side. And these haircuts really did inspire me to want to come on over here. That's why I love doing them. I just think they're so classy. You can take it at a modern approach and maybe take it a lot shorter on the sides, leaving more length up top, or you can really keep it timeless too. These styles just never go out. You can see we've got a little bit of weight, got a little bit of like a weight bubble there, and that's exactly what I want to see. Because like I said, later on when I do the secondary cutting with my blending shears, I'm going to refine that area a little bit more. So now I'm going to go to the side. There's not as much hair here, so I can get away with taking larger sections, but I'm really going to section this top area off and just get it out of the way. And once again, I'm following this baseline and bringing everything right down to that, over directing the top down. Gets a little closer through here in the front. I'm going to follow that. I like to play around with the shape just ongoing when I'm doing haircuts because I want to see exactly what it's going to look like as I'm creating this sketch. Now, the nice thing about using water is that anything you can do with water in the hair, you can do with product in the hair. So if I kind of want to readjust this, now that I'm to the front of the hair, I can kind of see just how much length, just how much height I can get in the front here. You can see how this hair is going to bend. I can see how it's going to collapse. Just kind of sculpt it around, get an idea. That really helps me stay on track with my end result. All right, so I'm going to go to the widest point on the side now. Go right to the baseline. And I'm going to do more scissor over comb cutting. I just wanted to knock that corner off. I'm going to do more scissor over comb cutting when it's dry. Let's see if I can get that to tighten up good. All right, now I can go to the front. So how I'm going to do this front, I know I want to leave some length. So I'm going to take my sections. I'm going to comb it all over. Bring it all the way down. And I'm going to angle my fingers to where that side is. This seems like a lot of hair. Let's get rid of some of it. Angle my fingers to where it connects on the side. And just follow that direction down. Here, let me pull the rest of this. And I kind of like to make like a line with my comb so I can really get a visual what it's going to look like, what it's supposed to look like too. Bring it over. We've got a lot of length here. Perfect. Kind of see it take shape. All right, let's get right to the top now. So I'm going to be taking horizontal sections. I'm just going to knock off a little bit of length back through here because I want to make sure this lays nice and smooth and we just have the volume right here in the front. So I'm going to go to the highest point of the head. All right, just keep going. Taking sections, same width as my comb, combing that out of my way, bringing it straight up out of the top of the head. Another 1-inch section or so. Now this is still a traveling guide. This is the last section I'll do as a traveling guide. The remaining sections, I'm going to over direct them back towards that last one because I want to maintain the length through the front. Comb it up, bring it right back to that one that we just cut. Bring this section back. Last one, bring it back. It's a lot of length. Probably going to be doing more trimming when it's dry, but I'm going to I did this whole section. Now I'm going to do this whole section. Once again, start at the highest point of the head. Point cutting just to connect. Point cut again. Now that section is just straight up. And now I'm kind of angling it to connect a bit. I'm going to point cut this part of it. going to take a step. All right, now before I really start getting into blending all this, I'm going to go back through the top and point cut everything, because anytime you remove length, you want to go back through and add texture. The shorter hairs will support the longer hairs, and it's just going to help make the blending process later that much easier for me. We're all about efficiency in the barbershop, making sure you're not rushing through any haircut, but working in the best control of time that you can. What questions might we have?
Hey, Sam.
What's up, Franz?
Hi. Looking very nice. Jamal Jones. I don't know where he's from, but he's asking, how did you determine where the hard part goes?
So I usually try to make sure it's not taken up high enough that it's going to expose more of a recession that doesn't have a lot of density. I try to make sure that it's not too far over, that there's enough balance between the length, the shorter length on the side, and also the length up top. Because if I would have taken this a little bit further down, it would have been a lot of length up top and not as much on the side. So normally I'll actually lay my comb flat on the head, and this will be kind of like a good indicator for me of where I can take it, where the hair is going to split naturally. Like the hair that wants to live down here will live down here, and the hair that wants to live up here will live up here. And this length isn't fighting it up, and, vice versa. So I feel like, when I'm working on my clients at home, here in the shop, I always end up doing this. And that normally will help me make sure it's balanced and it's in a good spot to make sure it's still creating balance and harmony with the bone structure and the facial features. So I hope that answered your question, Jamal.
Thank you, Sam.
So now I'm going to go through and put the hard parting in. And I'm actually going to take the beard foam to do this. I just think that the beard foam, it's going to be conditioning. It has a little bit of like a stickiness, like a slick about it. So it's also going to help me like lay these hairs down. But I think it also treats the skin a little bit to where when I go back through with my straight razor, I can really get a precise line. So beard foam, 1 pump. And I'm just going to pat it right through the parting line. Just pat it through. You can even kind of bring it throughout. Get those hairs laid down more. And I'm going to take my hair cutting comb and I'm going to invert my trimmers. First, make sure the line is already straight. You can see it could probably. All right. Upside down. Hold the hair down. All right. Straight edge. Now, the thickness of the line will be determined by how dense the hair is, what the texture's looking like, and that'll really kind of tell you how thick you need to go. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly blend out the sides with my clipper comb, and then we'll get right into the hair cutting. Now I have my one guard with it all the way open. I'm just going to go through and chip away using the corners. I can hear not a lot of length is coming off on the sides, so that's good. If you flick the wrist while doing it, while establishing your shorter lengths, it kind of helps blend everything. So just kind of quickly getting through that. All right, let's work with that for right now. So for the blow dry, I'm going to grab my grooming tonic. I like to use this liquid one for any time I'm blow drying here in the shop. It's more concentrated than the spray version. I'm just going to work it in. First, work it in your hands. Really work it in your hands, and then start dragging it through the hair, and I'm pulling it through the ends, mashing it through the scalp. And I'm going to go through. First, I'm going to blast dry everything, but then I'm going to put my nozzle on, and I'm going to use this small Denman brush. I'm going to use it because of that metal, or that rubber core is going to really help me get a nice bevel. It's going to allow me to really pull this front on or off base to where I can get the most amount of volume out of this shape. So let me just go ahead and get started. Like I said, I'm going to blast dry it first. Get a lot of this excess water out. I'm going to make it 75% dry. And I'm going to let the hair dryer do all of the work. So the nozzle is going to help me do that. I'm going to start here in the back. Let the hair dryer push the hair down. I'm just letting my comb guide it. I'm flat wrapping this back part. You always want to start in the back. The reason is because you never want to put wet hair, you never want to put dry hair over the top of wet hair, because it'll make it collapse and it won't get it as smooth. And now through this top, I am following my brush the whole way, just like that, because I want this to be nice and flat. And these little brushes really are so good. I was using the regular size for forever, and then George Adicata recommended this at our training, and first thing I got when I got back home, I go right through the part and just push this hair down. All right. Lock it in right up. Now the grooming tonic is slightly sticky, but it has a nice shine to it. It's the quintessential blow dry tonic. It works for everybody, even women's hair. See all that volume? Wow. Come over to this opposite side, right here at the hairline. Don't go out too far up. Come right here at the bottom. Also, my hair dryer is on medium heat, but high speed. You don't want to cook the hair. I'm coming here and I'm just basically letting the hair dryer be flat up against the head. Flat up against the head again. All right, I'm liking how that's looking. It's time to blend. All right, so I'm going to take my finer texturizing shears, and everywhere that I went through the top, I'm going to go in that exact way, so horizontal sectioning. And I'm just going to point cut just through these ends because I don't want to be aggressive with these blending shears. It's very easy to do. So one cut with these blending shears will reduce 25%. 2 cuts of these blending shears are going to reduce it down to 75%. So keep that in mind. You don't want to go too far in. I'm kind of like working with the hair texture too, and what direction it wants to grow in also. All right, I'm going to go through this back. I'm going to take vertical sections and just blend out that corner a bit more. Scissor over comb. Straight up, knocking off that ledge that I made earlier, just to save some length. Get it nice and close through here. Bit of a corner. I'm just going to point cut this again. Seems like this area is just a little thick, so I'm going to go back through, point cut it. It's shaping up here. All right, vertical. Seems like a lot of weight. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Now I'm going to go through and scissor over comb.
So Sam, I have another question for you.
What do you got for me?
So the question is from Corey asking, why point cut with the blenders and not straight across and lighten the ends of your sectioning?
So I like to point cut because at the end of these shears where I'm point cutting, there's like 3 or 4 little notches. And point cutting itself, you're staggering the area that you're reducing the length or reducing the density. So this is just going to really help make sure I'm not making any more blunt lines through there. I like to go through and maybe take my time a little bit too much and just ensuring that I'm not creating more lines and creating more of a mess for me to go back through. And I feel like I have more control over doing it that way when I point cut it with these blenders. And I'm not even going to lie to you. When I was still learning how to do men's hair cutting, I've been pretty happy and heavy-handed with some blenders before and just really, really messed somebody up. So word from the wise, just point cut it first. All right, I think we're shaping up pretty nicely here. Now I know you probably can see some more imperfections. I'm going to actually go through and blend that out off camera when we're done today, and I'll show you guys in the photo exactly what we come up with. But I'm going to start working in the product. And I think the product for this, I like to stick with more of that classic style. And we're going to mix a little bit of the green grease. I'm going to do a half knuckle of the green grease. Get into it here, get my sleeves out of the way. Come at it from, where's the camera? From around the side. This is going to help make sure the product stays not dried out in there. So I'm going to do a half knuckle, slap it on my hand. Here's this one. I do a lot. I like this one the most. This is clay matte, so versatile, works on just about any hair type. And I'm going to do about a whole knuckle of that. So I'm going to mix those two together. Mix it up in the hands. Where am I here? Mix it up. Mix it up. Mix it up. All right, I'm going to start in the back of the head. Just slather it down. Come around the outside. I don't want to go in the front first because that's going to weigh everything down that I just blew up to be high and voluminous. I'm just going to pull through the ends. Now this doesn't have to look that great right now because I'm just distributing the product through the hair. It can be a little messy because We're just trying to get the product into the hair. All right, pull through the ends, see any dry spots. I like to mix these two because I think that the grease gives it a little bit more pliability with the clay mat. It also helps give it like a little bit more of a muted shine instead of totally mattified like the clay mat does. So it's kind of like a happy medium between the two. Going through. I'm actually going to take my metal pick, one of my favorite tools ever. Since this is like wider teeth, it's going to help separate the product without pulling too much, like creating too much tension to where it's like totally messing up the shape. I'm coming right here in the front. Bring it up in the front, soften it, kind of swerve it around. All right. Like I said, I know that there's going to be some imperfections with the fade through here. I'll do that. I'm actually going to do that to let you know with my thin, flexible taper comb. You don't have to use clipper guards when you do a short fade. If you have the right tools and you have the right knowledge with the technique, you can actually do it without using any clipper guards at all. And this comb is actually a game changer in that. So when I'm doing this, I'm actually going to shears over comb any of the imperfected spots and get it nice and blended. But this is my scumbag boogie for you guys today. Let me know in the comments below how I did and what your favorite classic haircut is. Thanks for tuning in today, guys.
Yes, thank you all. And Sam, you're getting a lot of love out there. People are telling you perfect sweet minty apple cocktail choice. You're getting you've got a lot of your crew watching right now. George is tuning in. Keon's in. Lawrence is in. Yeah, Brooklyn's in. Corey's in. Yeah, there's a bunch. So and of course you got friends from all over the world. So thank you all. And Sam, I'll let you you take us out. If there's anything else you've got to say, please. Thank you.
Well, I hope that really helped answer your questions. Maybe lay a little bit of a map out for you guys of how to tackle these shorter haircuts with leaving more length up top. I just want to thank you guys so much again for tuning into another Reuzel live class. I appreciate you guys, everyone that tuned in, gave me some feedback, and don't forget to come back next week and see what we've got in store for you.